Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the strongest regions in Smash Ultimate. Now, the main four regions in this game are going to be Mexico, Europe, Japan, and America. And if you're wondering why America and Mexico aren't together as NA like Europe is, it's just because Mexico as a region is so strong and they have so many amazing players that it wouldn't really make sense to kind of just lump them in there with America. And let's just get right into it. And I realized I never explained the metric for the video, so I'm just going to do it right now. I've taken the 10 players that are the strongest currently in every single region, at least in my opinion, and I've put them into 4 different tiers. You're going to have the S tier, which are players that I believe are top 10 caliber. You're going to have the A tier, which are top 30 caliber. B tier is top 50 caliber, and C tier is top 100 caliber. And we'll kick it off with the region that people are likely the most familiar with, and that is going to be America. Now, we're going to have 3 players in the S tier, 4 players in the A tier, and 3 players in the B tier. Our S tier players are going to be Tweak, Light, and Zomba. No real surprises there. They have all been doing phenomenal, and honestly, it's kind of tough to tell who the best American is between them. I think if you're going off just recent results, it might honestly be Zomba. He does have that underperformance at Smash Factor, but everywhere else, he has been simply incredible. Tweaks had arguably the highest highs of the 3 with his second place at Terra. Light's been incredibly consistent, so it really is hard to choose between the 3 of who's the best in America, but unarguably, all of them are in contention for the top 10, if not top 10. We got 4 players in the A tier, and that's going to be Dabuz, Apollo Kage, Karama, and Mudace. Dabuz is probably the strongest player in the A tier for the entirety of this video. I mean, if you look at recent results, he's got a 4th at Kagura V10, 13th at Battle of BC5, 1st place at Combo Breaker and CEO, 5th place at High Res, 17th place at Gommel, where he lost to Sonics and Tweak, so who even really cares? 2nd place at SmashCon as well, with one of the best ones that we've seen this year, as well as a 3rd place at Cirque du CFL 2, and a 2nd place at the Invitational. Dabuz, he has just been farming. The Rosalina has been putting in an insane amount of work, and it really seems like he's hit his old form again, so honestly, I could see Dabuz being top 10. Maybe not by the end of the year, because the start of the year was a little bit weaker, and he does have the Japan trip where he doesn't do well all around, but still, Dabuz has been looking way better these past couple months, and that trend is seeming to continue. You're going to have Mudace as our next one. Now, Mudace is a player, we all know he's pretty inconsistent, but that's pretty much his only flaw. He has one of the highest ceilings in the game, and honestly, his consistency issues have been way better these past couple months. His worst placements are going to be 17th at SmashCon and 13th at CEO. He was able to win DreamHack Dallas, as well as Patchwork and Riptide. 3rd place at Rewired Fest, beating Spargo, who's got a 5th place at Cirque du CFL 2. Not a ton to say here. Mudace is just a player that farms pretty much every single regional that he goes to, and when he's playing his best, he's one of the strongest players in the entire world. Now, he's not always playing his best, which is honestly kind of the main thing holding him back from the S tier, but if he's able to fix his consistency like he has been doing for these past couple months, I could definitely see him being a top 10 player in the world. You're going to have Karama. Karama's a player that honestly, I think gets overshadowed a lot when we're talking about NA's talent. Now, he does have a pretty big underperformance at SmashCon, getting 65th there, but everything else from him this year has been really solid. He's got a 2nd place at DreamHack San Diego, 7th place at Crown, 5th place at King of Fields, and 9th at Gommel, and a 5th at Cirque du CFL 2. Karama is just so insanely good at this game, and though we haven't seen him return to his peak that he hit at LSI, it's definitely still in there, and I do believe that he can win a super major event. He's good enough to at least. And finally, you're going to have Apollo Kage. Now, Apollo Kage, his recent results haven't been as stellar. He's got a 33rd at Gommel, 9th at Riptide and Rewired Fest, but also he's got a 9th at SmashCon, which is obviously very good. He was able to win Battle of Z Umad over Zomba, double eliminating him from the event, 5th place at CEO. So Apollo Kage, he's been a little bit up and down these past couple months, but when he's playing good, phenomenal player. And our final 3 Americans are going to be in the B tier, and they are Lima, Chase, and Jackal. Starting off with Lima. Now, he's got a lot of very strong regional results. We haven't seen as much really good stuff at the major level since his run at Collision, but he still does have a 17th place at both Kagura V10 and Maysuma Top 12, but these regionals is where it gets really impressive. He's got a 3rd place at Gateway Legends, 4th place at DreamHack Dallas, 13th place at Wave Jazz, 7th place at both Riptide and Cirque du CFL 2, and he does have a pretty big underperformance at SmashCon, getting 129th there, but a lot of people did really bad at SmashCon, so I'm willing to let this one slide. He is the best Bayonetta player in America, at least in my opinion. Honestly, Deathspade is getting pretty close, but Lima's the one who pioneered this character in NA, so I'm going to still give him the benefit of the doubt. Then you're going to have Chase, who I would say is the best Palutena in America right now. Luis has also got some super solid arguments for it because he's had some incredible highs, but Chase has just been all around more consistent as a player. He's got a 17th at SmashCon, 13th at both Riptide and Cirque du CFL. He's got that really nice run at Crown where he was able to get 7th place, 4th at Wave Dash, and across the board he's just been an exceptional player. And then finally you're going to have Jack, who's got a 2nd place at Bears 400 where he was able to take a set off Zomba, 9th place at Shine. Like Lima does bomb out at SmashCon, same placement as well at 129th, but he's got that 9th at Hi-Res and that 2nd place at Crown the 3rd. I know it's a little bit out of people's minds now, but he was able to beat Pocket twice. He beat MK Leo, he beat Shootone, he beat Spargo, he beat Chase. It was just such a phenomenal run from him, and if we could see more runs like that from Jackal, he's going to be one of the best players in the world. I mean, he already is. And I do have some honorable mentions, and I'm not going to do this for every single region, but I want to shout out Cola, Quid, Didi, Pocket, and Mars, because I believe if all 5 of those guys were active, they would not only all be top 10 in America, they would all at least be within the A tier. They are so insanely good at this game, and they just go to no events or like one event a year, so we can't really put them in the top 10 fairly, but they at least deserve a shout out. Our next region is going to be Europe, and I only have one player in the S tier this time around, and that's going to be Gluttony, and I don't really need a ton of explanation for this. He's a top 5 player in the world right now, has not lost an event since Battle of BC. Editing Fruit Block here, I use PG Stats for all my videos, and for some reason PG Stats doesn't have Delfino Mazza or Smash Factor X results on there, so he got 4th at Smash Factor and 2nd at Delfino Mazza, but still very impressive. Which was his worst event of the season, where he got 9th, by the way. He won Icarus, he won Slyland, he won King of Fields, he won Terra, he won Rewired Fest. Gluttony has just been on a tear these past couple months, and it's undeniably a top 5 player in the world right now. Now, Europe was the hardest region for me to pick what tiers the players are going to go into. In the A tier, you're going to have 3 players, which is Bloom Forever, Siski, and Lugi. Now, Bloom I was heavily considering putting in the S tier, and I decided not to just because his results don't really reflect an S tier player, even though I think his gameplay does. It just wouldn't really be fair to the other regions. But Bloom overall has had still a very strong year, even with his 33rd at King of Fields. Outside of that, he was able to win Glory 3, as well as Shonen War 2 and Invasion. Now, those events are a little bit old at this point, but still very impressive, and they do count for the ranking season. He's got a 2nd place at Icarus, 9th place at Regen, and then when it mattered most, he did show up at Terra, ends up getting 5th place at that event. And Bloom Forever, I just said it, when you watch this guy play, he looks like a top 10 player in the world, but because his results don't quite reflect it yet, I'm not going to put him in that S tier. Other people in the A tier are going to be Siski and Luki. I can't remember if I already said that. For Siski, though, he's been really good this year. He does have an inconsistent placement at SmashCon, ends up getting 97th there, but I waived it for Lima and Jackal. I can surely waive it for him, and outside of that, he's been really good. He's got a 9th place at Terra, he's got a 17th place at Gommel, was able to top 8 both Smash Factor and King of Fields, had a really nice run at Battle of BC to 9th place. I wouldn't say he's the best Samus in the world currently, but there's a very close argument between him and Yara, and I'm going to be very interested to see who ends up taking that. And then you're going to have Luigi, who is definitely the best Luigi in the world. We haven't seen him since Terra, where he honestly didn't do super good, ends up getting 49th place at that event, but he was able to win Regen, got a 2nd place at King of Fields, 25th at Battle of BC, but he lost to Spargo and Kameme, so I feel like that's not super telling. And he's able to make Luigi a fairly consistent character, and in the current meta, that seems like something that is borderline impossible to do. So even though he does have 1 or 2 flubs, I've been very impressed by Luigi, and I just need to see more of him. We have 3 players in the B tier, which are going to be Tarek, Andres FN, and Raw Flow. Now, as I mentioned, it was really difficult for me to decide where to put the players in Europe, and Raw Flow was definitely one of the main reasons for that, because in 2023, I definitely wouldn't have him in the A tier, but overall, this is a player that I do believe has shown that he can be top 30 caliber in the world. He hasn't been as active in 2023, but it's not like he has 0 events. Recently, he was able to get 13th place at King of Fields, 13th place at SmashCon with a ridiculous loser run, 17th place at Regen, and once again, when it matters most, he was able to perform at Terra with a 5th place there, wins over players like Yoshi, Dora, Tarek, Big Chungus. So I've been very impressed by Raffle. I think he is a player that could potentially be in the A tier, but like Bloom Forever, he doesn't really have the results to justify that, so I'm going to leave him here for now. Andres FN and Tarek are also players that have been very impressed with me this year. Starting off with Andres FN, he was able to get a 17th place at SmashCon with a massive upset over Shootone. He's got a 3rd place at Dosu Cell 2023. He's got a 33rd at King of Fields, which isn't super great, 25th at Battle of BC, and he also has a fourth place at both Invasion and Shonen War. Andres FN, when we get to see this guy travel, and he has been traveling a lot more in 2023, he's shown me some really impressive things, and really a master of all 4 FGC characters. And shocker, you have players from Europe traveling more to NA, and they're getting better results. I wonder why that is. Speaking of players that have done that, you're going to have Tarek, who has also just had such an electric year. He's got a 25th at SmashCon with barely losing to Mutes in the loser side. Absolutely could have won that set and gone further in the tournament. He's got a 7th place at King of Fields and a 9th place at Terra with a decent losers run there as well. Greninja is a character that I don't think very highly of, but when I watch Tarek play, he makes me believe. That's all I'll say about that, because I don't want to get too much into just talking about Greninja. He also does have a Kazuya secondary, but I definitely think that Greninja has a lot more impact, especially when he is traveling, because people just aren't as used to Greninja. But Tarek, Andres FN, and Raffle, they've all had some pretty incredible tournaments this year, and I think if we continue seeing them travel and continue these good placements, I could see them being top 30 easily. And we have our final 3 Europeans, all being in the C tier, and that's going to be Quick, Space, and Leon. And to be honest, I think all 3 of these players have arguments for the B tier, especially Quick, but I didn't put him in there, so deal with it. For Quick, he's going to have a 33rd at Battle of BC, 17th at Let's Make Big Moves, 5th place at Icarus, 3rd place at King of Fields, and a 4th place at Smash Contest Okami. Obviously, that King of Fields run is going to be his best one. I feel like he often gets overlooked because you're talking about a European Samus. A lot of people are going to be talking about Siski, and while Siski definitely is the best European Samus, Quick is not too far behind, and both players do have similar heights, so big ups to Quick. He really is an insane player that I want to see travel, and that's kind of the main trend between the players in the C tier, I guess, aside from Leon. Space has not been able to travel in 2023. I just maybe hasn't wanted to, but he's got some really strong results within Europe. He's got a 9th place at Shonen War, 7th place at Icarus, 5th place at King of Fields, was able to get a really nice win at Smash Contest Okami over players like Lancelot, Makuro, and Honk, as well as a 5th place at Region and a 17th place at Terra, which is obviously the event that matters the most. And then finally, you're going to have Leon, who's had some pretty incredible runs this year. He was able to get a really nice win at Gaming Hotel 2023 over players like Siski, Super Semi, and Tarek. He's got a 13th place at Terra, 5th place at Dose 2 Cell, and a 9th place at King of Fields, as well as way back at the start of the year. If you look at his Genesis run, he was able to upset Riddles at that tournament, which is obviously a massive win. It really just shows how good of a player he is. He beat Apollo Kage at that tournament as well. He beat Riddles with Crom, by the way, because yes, Leon is that good of a player. So I could see Leon, Space, Quick all being moved up to the B tier, but considering their competition, as well as a lot of them just not having a ton of results, I think keeping him in the C tier for now is fine. Editing proof block, I just forgot to mention Super Semi. I still wouldn't have him in my top 10 just because he hasn't had a ton of results, but he's really good at this game and definitely deserves a shout. Same thing with Enfori and Flow. Our next region is going to be Mexico, and we've got 2 players in the S tier, and that's going to be Spargo and MK Leo. I'm not even going to explain Spargo. And for Leo, he honestly probably should be in the A tier, but also it's MK Leo, and I'm not going to do that. He's got a 5th place at Smash Factor, 7th place at Delfino Maza, 9th place at Gommel, 5th place at Crown, 13th at Battle of BC, and a 2nd place at Major Upset. You got to remember, this is MK Leo's worst year of competitive Smash Ultimate by far. Like, it's not even close, and these are still the results that this guy is putting up. He was also able to get a win at the Hex of Sorcerer Volume X and Main Game Fest Mini recently. He's had those 2 events where he was able to come back. I mean, 3 events technically, because he got 4th place at the Hooters event, but we're not going to talk about that. And I actually do want to talk about this Invitational right now, because the 2nd and 3rd place finishers are going to be our 2 Mexican players that are in the A tier, which are SkyJ and Meister. Now, SkyJ, he is an anomaly. I have no idea how this guy is able to get the results that he does with Incineroar, but he does it over and over and over again. At that Invitational that I mentioned, he was able to get wins on Gilhu, Javi, Superdog, NK Big Boss, and Meister's got a 5th place at the Hex of Sorcerer Volume X. He was able to get a 13th place at Smash Factor. He's got just a bunch of really solid results across the board, and he's doing it with Incineroar, which just makes it that much more impressive. And Meister, he's got similarly impressive results, though of course he's not going to be doing it on the Incineroar. He's going to be doing it on the Game Watch, and because of this, I feel like he's getting a lot less credit than he should, because Mia's obviously been farming, but Meister is still extremely good at this game. He's got 9th place at both Delfino, Maza, and Smash Factor, 13th place at Crown, 9th place at Gommel, and if you're looking at his recent results, they're honestly not super good compared to his mid-season results, where he got a 5th place at Battle of BC, 3rd place at Low Tide, 4th place at Collision. Meister's a player with an insanely high ceiling that people have just straight up forgotten about, because Mia's really good, so really excited to see him return, because I know he's going to shake up some brackets. Now, I only have one player in the B tier for Mexico, and that is going to be MK Big Boss. And his start of the year was definitely a lot better than his middle of the year and even his recent results, but his recent results are still nothing to scoff at. He's got a 5th place at Wave Dash, 9th place at Patchwork, 13th place at Goblin, as well as a 4th place at that Invitational that I mentioned earlier on when I was talking about Skyjay and Meister. He was able to get wins on Chag, Javi, and Gilhue at that event, and he is still the second best Rob in the world, at least in my opinion. Zomba's definitely taken that number 1 spot, but I would have MK Big Boss over Anathema right now, and this guy is still crazy good, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he had an event where he just randomly got top 8 again, but off of his recent results, I don't think he should be in the A tier, and I think the B tier is fine. And we have our final 5 players, which are all going to be in the C tier, and that's going to be Chag, Alendis, Waka, Andric, and Rox. And really quickly, before I forget, I've been using PG stats for all of my results, and they just don't have Delfino, Maza, or Smash Factor on there, so I'm just going to say what those players got at those respective tournaments. You're going to have Chag getting 17th place at Delfino, Maza, and 25th at Smash Factor, Alendis getting 9th place at both, Waka getting 17th place at both, Andric not going to either event, Rox getting 9th place at Delfino, Maza, and 25th at Smash Factor. Now, I should say that I think all these players have the potential to be B-tier players, especially Chag, just because he's much more proven than the other 4, but they just don't really have the results to justify it, so I'm going to keep them in the C tier for now. For Waka, he only has 2 results in 2023 that had 100 entrants or more, excluding Smash Factor and Delfino Maza, and he ended up winning both of those events over players like Rox, Alendis, Hazard, and Javi, and he's one of the best Luigi players in the world. Again, I would still have Luigi as the best Luigi in the world just because he is much more proven, but I think Waka is definitely someone that you should be throwing into that conversation. Chag, this is a player that I feel like doesn't need a ton of explanation. We've seen Chag when he's super tryharding this game, and when he's at his peak, he is one of the best Palutena players in the entire world, just one of the best players in the entire world, period, but he hasn't been tryharding as much recently, and even then, he still has a 17th at Crown, 5th place at Slyland, 17th at King of Fields. It's not like his results have super fallen off and he's a bad player. He's still insanely good at this game, just not the peaks that we were used to. Next up is going to be Alendis, who has the best run out of everyone in the C tier with his performance at Smash Factor. He was able to beat Zomba, Zwal, and Mutex, as well as Machu on a really nice run to 9th place. He also has a 3rd place at Fossil Smash, even though it was in January, and a 2nd place at Best of the West, even though it was in April. Again, we don't have a ton of results to pull from here. And also, for anyone wondering, those were the 2 events that Waka won. I don't know why I didn't say the name of those events when I was talking about Waka, but that's what they were. And Alendis, out of all of the players in the C tier, he's probably the player that I hold in the highest regard. Now, is it because he plays Snake? Probably, but also this guy is just ludicrously good at this game, and if he was going to more events, I definitely think he would be ranked way higher than he currently is, and again, that really applies to everyone in the C tier. Next up is going to be Rox, and we actually did get to see Rox travel this year. He ended up getting a 25th place at Gommel, losing to Dark Wizzy in the winner side and Tweak in the loser side. Kind of just a bad draw to get Tweak, but he ended up taking that set to Game 5, very competitive. It just shows how good of a player he actually is. Was able to get a win at Seismic Break and a 4th place at Fossil Smash, and Rox is just one of the best Sheik players to ever touch this game. I would still have Web JP, and I'm definitely above him for now. Maybe Mr. R above him as well, but easily a top 5 Sheik. He also has some pretty notable secondary characters and is overall just an extremely talented player. Andric, speaking of talented players, is going to be our final player in the C tier as well as our final Mexican player. He has had a lot of actually opportunities to travel to America this year. He's got a 17th place at Level of Expo, 5th place at DreamHack San Diego, 3rd place at Wave Dash, and a 5th place at Patchwork. So that was really, really nice to see him coming outside of Mexico and getting some pretty insane results, and he just looked phenomenal at all the events he was going to. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a ton of him at super major and major events. Like, he does have that Level of Expo performance, as well as right at the start of the year, a 65th at Genesis, but outside of that, we haven't seen him at a major event. I do believe that Andric is one of the best Captain Falcon players in the world. He's the only player, in my opinion, that even has a shot of challenging Jogabu as the best Falcon in the world right now, but we just really haven't seen him be able to do so, so hopefully I get to see Andric at some major events because this guy is really, really good. Onto our final region of Japan, you're going to have 5 players in the S tier, and that's going to be Akala, Mia, Shutone, Yoshidora, and Kameme. And not going to explain Akala and Mia for fairly self-explanatory reasons. Starting off with Kameme, though, he's got a lot of really strong placements. Does have a couple weaker ones, but let's start with the stronger ones. He's got a 2nd place at Subageki 13, 2nd place at Wave 4, insane run at Battle WC, was able to get 4th place, as well as 3rd place at Maizuma top 13, and a 9th place at Delta 5. Now, he's got a 33rd at Kaguribi 11, as well as a 33rd at Kaguribi 10, 17th at Maizuma top 12, and a 17th at Gommel. So he's definitely had some ups and downs. Also, I forgot to mention he's got a 2nd place at Kowloon 7, and he won Ultimate 1 and 5 over players like Osimo, T, and Passeriman. So Kameme, one of the best players in the world, the only person that can make Sora work for some reason, because I swear that character is insanely broken, but Kameme, he's been the only one that can reach the top level consistently with that character, as well as having a bunch of other characters on his lineup, and he's been one of the best players of Smash Ultimate since the game came out, so no real surprise that he's here. A player that hasn't been the best since Smash came out, though, Yoshidora, and this guy, I mean, he's definitely one of the best. His worst placement of the season is going to be a 13th place at Terra, which is just kind of insane. Really shows how amazing of a player he is. He's also going to have a really low placement with a 13th at Maizuma top 11, and everything else has been a top 8. He's got a 3rd place at Umabora SP9 and a 4th place at Kaguribi 9. I know those results are a little bit older, but it's just to showcase how insane this guy is. 7th place at Maizuma top 12, 5th place at Kaguribi 10, 7th place at Battle of BC 5, 4th place at Maizuma top 13. Actually, he does have another top 8 miss at Sumabato SP Ultimate, where he got 9th, and finally he has a 3rd place at Kaguribi 11. So he's missed 3 top 8s. His worst placement is a 13th, and everything else he has top 8'd, and at some of these events he's even won, especially at the regional level. Like he's won Sumabato SP 39 and Sumabato SP 40. Yoshidora is ludicrous at this game, and talking about players that have taken their character to the top level, Yoshidora owns this character. He has invented the wheel time and time again with Yoshi, and I think he's just going to continue doing that. And our final player is going to be Shutone. Again, doesn't need a ton of explanation. He does have a little bit of more inconsistent results to his standard 25th at Kaguribi 10, 17th at SmashCon, and 9th place at both Delta 5 and Kaguribi 11. But luckily for him, everything else is pretty much flawless. He's got a 2nd place at Subageki 14, 3rd place at Crown and Battle of BC, as well as Delta 4. He's got a lot of 3rd places. He has multiple major wins, including wins at Wave 4 and Kowloon 5, and he's just one of the best players in the world. I would definitely still have him as the best Aegis player in the world as well, even though that's a title that's coming a lot more contested with Spargo using the character a lot more. But Shutone, I think his Aegis is the best, and his Olimar is definitely the best. And our final 5 players are all going to be in the A tier. You got Ken, T, Osimo, Yara, and Hurt. Starting off with T. Now, the reason he is in S tier is because he hasn't had a super active year overall. He's got a 2nd place at Umabora SP9, 9th place at Genesis, 17th at Maizuma top 11, 5th place at Maizuma top 12, 17th at Kaguribi 10, 13th at Crown the 3rd at Maizuma top 13, and a 4th place at Kaguribi 11. And those are just the major results. And this hasn't been a super great year for T, and the keyword there is for T, because these results are still really, really good. He's unarguably still the best Pac-Man player in the world, as well as one of the best Kazuya players in the world, and those are 2 characters that are extremely broken. As much as I downplay Kazuya, he is still one of the best characters in this game, and Pac-Man is one of the most underrated characters in this game, and when you watch T play this game, it's kind of hard to argue against that. Next up is going to be Ken, another player that I initially had in the S tier, but I did decide to move him down because he has some lower placements, like a 25th at Battle of BC and 25th at Maizuma top 13, but also he's got 9th at Kaguribi 10, 13th at Crown, 5th at Subageki 14, 5th at SmashCon, 5th at Delta 5, and a 9th place at Kaguribi 11. Ever since he's been going solo Sonic, his results have been really strong, and I think that's going to be a trend that continues because Sonic is just a really, really good character, and Ken is one of the best to ever do it. Next up, you're going to have Osimo. Now, he's been all over the place this season. He's got some really strong placements and some really not as strong placements. Don't get me wrong. They're not as bad as someone like Mia or Spargo, which is kind of crazy to say, but he's got a lot of 13s, like at Delta 4, Kaguribi 10, as well as Subageki 14, Sumabato SP 40, and Maizuma top 12, as well as a 17th place at Maizuma top 14, but the rest of his results are really good. 7th place at Kaguribi 11, 9th place at Delta 5, 5th place at Sumabato SB Ultimate, 3rd place at Kowloon 7, got 2nd place at Ultimate 1 and 5, 2nd place at Altcore, taking a set off Mia at that tournament. So while Osimo has been a little bit inconsistent, his peaks are really strong, and even at the start of the year with his 2nd place at Kaguribi 10, I think for block, it was Kaguribi 9. You could tell I knew something was up. where he was able to beat players like Akala, Zachary, Yoshidora, Kameme. Osimo has some of the highest highs in this game. He's just not always reaching them, and because of that, he is going to be in the A tier. Then you're going to have Yara, who I would say is the best Samus in the world right now. He's got 13th at Kagura B11 and Sumabato SV Ultimate. 4th place at Delta 5, 7th place at Kowloon 7, 3rd place at CEO. This is a player that we haven't seen travel a ton, but I think the more he travels, the stronger he's going to get. He's also got a 17th place at Battle WC, and you can really apply that to anyone because traveling is just going to make you better as a player. But Yara, he's got some pretty ridiculous results, and I think he has the chance to continue being the best Samus in the world, even though Siski is right on his tail. And our final player is going to be Hurt. Now, there is a lot of players you could have as our 10th player here, and I just put Hurt because I want to talk about him. His recent results have been incredible. He won Maizuma Top 13.5, got 4th place at Kowloon 7, 2nd place at Delta 5, and a 7th place at Kagura 11, including wins over players like Akala, Mia, Yara, Ken, Shutone, Jogabu, Hiro. He is just a ridiculously good player. I would definitely have him as the best snake in the world right now, and Hurt's insane. That's all I really got to say. And then honorable mentions to Zachary and Protobonum. I think both of them should be in the top 10, but they just don't have a ton of results, and I wanted to talk about other Japanese players. So we've talked about all 4 regions. It took a little bit, but now we can finally do the best part, which is going to be ranking them. Haha, just kidding. I wanted to really quickly mention Australia and Canada. I think those are 2 regions that are really close to the level of being major regions, especially Canada, because they are going to have Riddles as their top player. And I want to give a shout out to Shiny Mark and Sonics as well, because both those guys are on the top of their game, but they're just not from any of the major regions, so they didn't get mentioned in the video. Now, as you can see, I have these little black boxes here, and this is how many points every single region got. And the way that I divvy out the points is if you have a player in the S tier, they are going to be worth 4 points, A tier is 3 points, B tier is 2 points, and the C tier is going to be 1 point. And as you can see, every single player within the top 10 is going to be worth at least 1 point, because it's not going to be a major region if you don't have 10 players that are at least somewhat notable at this game. And starting off with Mexico, they are going to have a grand total of 21 points, which is going to make them the weakest region this time around. So let's go to our next region of Europe, and they are going to be ahead of Mexico by 1 point. And for the first time ever in any Smash game, Europe is not the worst region. At least in my opinion, I have been extremely impressed about how much better Europe has got over these past couple years, especially in 2023. I think there's been drastic improvements from pretty much all of their top players, so massive props to them. And then, of course, let's talk about Mexico, so the Mexican fans don't get too mad at me. I do think that these 5 players have a massive amount to improve because they're insanely good at this game, but I just haven't been able to see that, and it wouldn't be super justified for me to have them in the purple tier because they haven't yet proven it yet, unlike Tarek, Andres FN, and Raflo have. So if you're mad that Mexico is the worst region, quote unquote, it's just because they don't really get to go to any events, and the same argument can be made for Europe, but finally, they're not on the bottom. So we have our top 2, America and Japan. It always comes down to them, but who is going to be the winner? You're going to have America with 30 points, kind of blowing these other 2 regions out of the water. And as much as we're talking about how bad America's been, they're still a really strong region. And with all these players not being in contention, if they were actively competing, I could honestly see arguments for America being the best region in the world. But now let's look at Japan's points. 45. It is not close. Japan is the best region in this game by far, in my opinion, and it's not really a conversation. And if any single player wants to get better, if you're from Mexico, Europe, America, not even from any of these regions, you want to get better at Smash Ultimate and you got some cheddar to spend, absolutely you should be going to Japan and you should be practicing there because they're just by far the best at this game. And I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The support has been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's anything I got wrong in the video, any of the placements that you disagree with, or just a player that you think should be in the top 10 when they're not, please leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub, all that yada yada, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!